This video contains spoilers for the Riyria Chronicles and Riyria Revelation series. If you haven't read them yet, you should go do it. They're really good. Throughout the Riyria series, Arcadius acts as the nurturing and benevolent professor of lore at Sheridan University. He goes to a lot of trouble to partner Royce and Hadrian so that they may grow and learn from each other. He mentors Arista in her studies, setting her upon her magical path. When Gwen brings her young daughter to him, he agrees to take her in and give her a life Gwen couldn't offer at the time. And in his final act, he sacrifices his own life to protect Mercy and the hopes of the entire human race. In a series that contains many characters with sordid pasts, Arcadius stands out as a moral beacon. And it was because of this fact that when, in the second to last chapter of the entire series, we find out it was him that was behind the heart-wrenching murder of Gwen, that many readers, including myself when I first read it, were baffled and confused. How could that even make sense? Why would he do such a thing? Was Arcadius actually one of the villains? But when we really start to dig into Arcadius's past, we see that his actions shouldn't have been surprising at all, and perhaps they were even justified. So let's take a look at Arcadius's story and see what drove him to that dark night in Cornwall on the Langdon Bridge. Arcadius Vintarus Latimer was born the son to a poor weaver of a small village. As a youth, he was rebellious and eventually left his village, onward to adventure. And along this path, for a period of around 10 years, he disappeared completely, during which he met Ulrich, who we now know as Trylos, who taught him magic that could locate the true heir of Navron. Shortly after he returned, Arcadius was taken in by the church for interrogation. Now, at this point, the church already had a history of harshly punishing those who did not cooperate, such as the Sheridan professors of Woodley, Landoner, and Cranston, who were all burned for heresy. So Arcadius would go on to make the biggest regret of his life and give up the location of Naren Brown, who was the true heir at the time. Shortly after, Arcadius would be set free and travel down to Ratibor to learn the terrible news of what had happened. The line of Navron, which had survived in hiding for hundreds of years, had been ended due to his actions, a man who lived mere decades before the Uli Vermar would end. Arcadius, due to his cowardice, bore the weight of not only Naren and Linetha Brown, but the entirety of the human race. With his vast knowledge that he had gained during his travels, Arcadius was able to secure a spot as the professor of lore at Sheridan. But still, Arcadius would live with the terrible weight of regret for many decades. But one day, he was visited by Miranda Gaunt, who let him know about the missing child. Arcadius would use his magic and locate Royce at Manzan. Against all odds, Arcadius had been given a second chance. From this moment on, his life purpose would be to prepare Royce, refound the Theorem Eldership, which had dissolved after Naren's death, and to set the stage through other characters such as Arista and Hadrian for what was to come. From the very beginning, he taught Royce history and philosophy and tried to cure his violent nature. But Royce was not a child at this point. He had already grown into a man, and it was this fact that troubled Arcadius, as he tells Hadrian. Once an idea is learned, once it settles in, it becomes comfortable and hard to discard. Imagine how much harder it is to abandon ideas you grew up with. The longer the relationship, the harder it is. This is why I try to get them young, before their minds petrify with the nonsense they learn out there in the colorblind world. I'm not always successful. But Arcadius had no choice with Royce, so he would partner him with Hadrian and keep constant tabs on the pair through his network. Throughout their adventures, Hadrian would rub off some on Royce, but even with that, the pair still made their living on thievery, and quite a bit of blood was left in their wake. This would have been very concerning to Arcadius, so when Gwen came to him and asked him to take in her daughter Mercy, it would have been a dream come true. All of a sudden, he had the true air of Navron as a very young child that he could mold into the perfect ruler, which is exactly what he did. He began her academic training young, and then put his plan into action by going to Aquesta and urging Saldar to make Mercy the next in line to the new empire. This, of course, did not end up working, and Arcadius would have again felt the sting of failure. But then something happens. Saldor and Ethelred are overthrown, and Modena takes control. Arcadius once again has another chance, and this time he knows he must make his plans work. But there's one giant problem. Royce and Gwen are going to get married, which surely means Gwen will tell Royce about Mercy. And knowing them, Arcadius predicts they will leave to settle down somewhere quiet as the world continues in war. And his prediction seems to be spot on, as right before Gwen's death, Royce ponders about their future. He no longer cared about the others. Saldar could rule all of Elan, so long as he could have Gwen. They would go to Avampartha, leave that very night. But Arcadius knows that the world needs the heir right now. He cannot have Royce, Gwen, and Mercy leaving the storyline. So given this, Arcadius knows he only has one option. He has to kill Gwen so that Royce can never learn the truth. And for those wondering how Arcadius could have done this to Gwen, the woman who trusted him with her daughter, to Royce, who looked up to him as a father, remember Arcadius' words to Hadrian: emotion gets in the way of practicality. Doing this most certainly hurt Arcadius, but he was pragmatic. He knew what needed to be done to make the world a better place and give the humans a chance. With his cowardice, he had failed humankind already, and he wasn't going to do so again. He was willing to sacrifice the few in order to protect the many, and he wouldn't be the first character in Elan to send good people to their deaths for the promise of a better future. So what do you think? Was Arcadius a hero? A villain? Did he make the right choice? Let me know. And until next time, thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe and watch my other videos to learn more about the world of Elan and Riyria. Thanks!